Dez is hot. Yesterday in the Cowboys locker room, as you just saw, going off on ESPN reporter John-Jacques Taylor, who wrote a story about Dez and the Cowboys. We now welcome in our former Cowboy, Darren Woodson. So good to see you.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
And so happy to have you, especially with this conversation. We want your insight here. Do you have a problem with Dez's outburst, how he handled this situation?
I have a problem how how dramatic Dez was. I think that, listen, I've been in arguments with John-Jacques Taylor himself. And I've had actually one argument with him in my playing time. And we were a 5-11 team, 3 years straight. And Jacques is going to ask some direct questions about the skill set of our team. He asked me a direct question. I got a little upset because I was sensitive about us being 5-11. But we had it out and we moved on. It was a one-on-one deal. We had a little argument.
You didn't have it out in front of?
We had it in the locker room, but it wasn't to the point where it got there. I think Dez's problem is this. It's so dramatic. Everything that he does, whether it be on the football field or in the locker room, when he has a problem with something, it goes overboard. And it went overboard in this locker room. And if you want to be a leader on this team or be considered a leader on this team, look no further than Jason Witten. Look no further than Tony Romo. When things go awry and they're 2-6, let's call it what you are. Bill Parcells used to always say, you're 2-6. That's who you are. This is a 2-6 football team. What do you expect John-Jacques Taylor to write? Good things about this football team? Good things about Dez Bryant? I think you can't be that sensitive. If you're Dez Bryant, you can't be this sensitive to go this far and come at John-Jacques Taylor in that way. And I think there's a lot to be said about the professionalism as it's concerned in that locker room. And not only with Dez Bryant, but for other players. Devin Street came out and said John-Jacques Taylor had a racial slur. I've known John-Jacques for a long time, for 15 years. Have I always liked what he reported? No. But I can tell you this, he's an absolute professional, and he's going to handle his business the right way. And I thought it was a shame for Devin Street to come out and say something.
I think actually Dez said that he said it to Devin. I think Dez sort of reported that via Twitter. I think that's where it came from, but same idea. Yeah.
Like I said earlier, I mean, it was embarrassing. Let's just call it what it is. And I tried to reach John-Jacques Taylor this morning. I wasn't able to reach him. Otherwise, I would have tried to get his side. And obviously, I would try to get Dez's side if the Dallas Cowboys and everybody else didn't get in the way and shield players from getting contacted. But that's their problem. Because, you're not going to shield. You don't have to go through ESPN to find me. I'm not hard to find. These players want to be hard to find. And then it's almost like they Ronald Reagan, for crying out loud, God rest his soul, where they want plausible deniability. You didn't speak to me. You didn't hear from me. How do you know it's true? So let me deny it, even though you're doing everything you can to avoid being addressed the question so you can have an opportunity to give your truth. And that's the thing that I find incredibly distressing about all of this. I'm hearing reporters constantly be accused. Everybody wants to say the media. It's a crutch. It's a crutch. Just like sometimes I think when some black folks bring up racism, it's a crutch. Right. Okay? Sometimes it's legitimate. Sometimes it's a damn crutch. Sometimes when you're talking about the media and you're talking about the media's fault, the media is at fault. Well, it's a crutch because I don't know a reporter worth his salt that wouldn't give you access to him to tell whatever your version may be. So they can print your perspective. They can report your perspective, whether it be on television, radio, or in print. When you can't do it, it's because you're denied the access to do it or because you don't want to have to tell the truth. And that's where we go from here. And I'll take it a step further and I'll reiterate what I said to Skip earlier. And you are a person that I think is more than qualified to address what I'm about to say. Black reporters are held to a different standard than the white reporters by black athletes. Black athletes look at black reporters and they expect you to have a heightened level of sensitivity. Here's the deal. I don't have a problem with it. I don't have a problem with it. Listen, I've displayed and showed my sensitivity to young black men who have something to say all the time. But it can't be at the expense of facts. Right. Now, you can couple it with the facts. You can sit there and give a perspective to explain the facts. But what you can't do is ask a dude or expect a dude to ignore the facts and ignore the story and all of this other stuff for the sole express purpose of you just manipulating that reporter, because first of all, the reporter has no respect because you're laughing at them for following that nonsense if they fall for it. But then if they don't and they are committed to doing their job, you don't have any respect for them because you have animosity towards them because you think they should be looking out for you when in fact you're not looking out for them. I'll give you a perfect example of the modern day era. Adrian Peterson. Let me call him out right now. You seen Adrian Peterson do an interview? Since this whole incident took place. Now, I happen to know quite a few reporters that would like to sit down with Adrian Peterson. And I'm telling you right now, Adrian Peterson's condition is, don't ask me any questions about what happened. Well, if you don't ask him anything about what happens, and you think about this for a second. Skip Bayless, go ahead and sit down with Adrian Peterson. Now, you don't get to ask him a damn thing about what happened. You got a job tomorrow? You're not going to be the laughing stock of this industry with all that he went through, and it's the first interview that he's done, and you can't ask him something. Somebody interviews Greg Hardy right now. I'm going to just talk to you about your 4 sacks and the 6-game loser streak. At no time am I going to bring up your sideline incident. At no time am I going to bring up your trouble with the law. At no time I'm going to bring up your, what's going on with you. Oh, no, I'm not going to ask anything about that. We're just going to talk about the 6-game loser streak, 4 in which included you, and you have 4 sacks. We ain't going to talk about anything else. Do I got a job tomorrow? But they don't want to think about that. The black athlete sits there. I'm not saying all of them. The LeBrons and Kobe's and D Wade's and others, they get it to some degree. They
That's
understand.
just it.
They get it.
You got to get it. It's part of it.
But a lot of these young black athletes don't get it. And more importantly, the people they have in their inner circle don't want them to get it, because that's how they sustain their relevance in these guys' lives, by directing them away and saying we can manipulate who's going to interview you so they'll ask you exactly what we want you to ask. That's why, somebody like me, they going to hate because I ain't listening to any of that.
I got it.
Am I right about that?
You're right. You're on point.
Okay, let's go back to what I think was the flashpoint between Jean-Jacques and Dez that set all this off yesterday. It was an article that Jean-Jacques wrote last week after Dez's first game back against Seattle. He caught 2 balls for 12 yards. I don't know what your eyes told you. He did not look right to me.
Yeah, he's coming off an injury. Yeah, he wasn't the same guy.
He just couldn't. Okay, so Richard Sherman's on him, obviously one of the top corners. So it's going to be a long day for Dez Bryant, right? So Jean-Jacques writes a piece. He said, don't make excuses for your lack of production. And the last line of the piece is, the Cowboys can't afford another empty performance from their $70 million man against the Eagles. Well, listen, when I read that, and I'm a Dez fan, I love Jean-Jacques. I know him, respect him, but I thought that was a little harsh because, man, the guy, he's coming off a serious injury and came back prematurely to play against Seattle when I didn't think he should have played. So give him 1 week break. But that's just my view of this article. But for Dez Bryant, so what? What's the... Just rise above it. Go on, because you're a bad football team. Just go to the Eagles game. Then go on to the next game. Go to the Tampa game. Right. Go take it out on them. Make plays on them and be the leader of this football team. That was a big step back for
but I still feel like this. Listen, you can't be a front runner. You can't be a front runner to say, if this team was 6-2, Jean-Jacques Taylor's writing great articles about Dez Bryant. He's in years past, he's written great articles about him. That he's destroyed the league. He's a top 2 receiver in the league, and he's given him all this credit. Well, when things are bad and you're 2-6, you better believe they're going to write negative articles about you. Right. It would behoove every Cowboy in that locker room not to get on Twitter at 2-6. It would behoove them to stop reading the articles
Help a lot
at
of people
2-6. It's that easy.
And I'm just going to say this to close this out. Tony Romo, Jason Witten, in this case, Jason Witten, who looked like the professional in that locker room.
Yeah.
It's a damn shame.
Yeah, it is.
That Dez Bryant, who I love, that Dez Bryant couldn't learn from that yet. You've been there long enough to know better. And by the way, Twitter ain't going to help you. It's just giving us more ammunition to talk about you.
Jason Garrett just said publicly that they didn't handle the situation right, and they're going to use it as a learning lesson.
Jason Garrett is starting to annoy me. Right. Seriously, I'm getting sick of him because all he just does, just stop something instead of always just giving lip service.
Right now, he's putting out more fires than he is coaching right now.
Thank you.
Honestly,
okay.
That's what I was trying to say.
We'll leave it with that. Appreciate you, Darren. Thank you so much for your time. We stay in the NFL with another struggling team. The rumor on the street is that the Colts may go after a big-name college football coach. We'll give you all those details when we return. Stay here.